Hello and welcome back if you're returning. If you're new, I'm Steph, and today we'll be moving through a really lovely, gentle practice. You will need 2 blocks for today, and make your way to a comfortable seated position to get started. You may like to use one or both of your blocks to elevate the hips. Take an easy cross of the legs. Lengthen the spine. Soften the shoulders away from your ears. Hands are resting on your thighs, and maybe close your eyes. Taking the first few moments of our practice to connect to our breath. And we'll begin by observing our natural rhythm of breath. That easy and effortless flow of the breath in and out through the nose. Maybe just noticing what you've brought onto the mat with you today. Any thoughts that have made their way onto the mat with you. Can you place your focus on the breath above these thoughts? Choosing the breath whenever you notice that your mind is drifted away from it. We'll stay with that easy, effortless rhythm of our breath. Going into some gentle side bends here. Take your left fingertips over to the mat beside the left hip. Reach your right arm up and over. We'll wave it side to side. Right fingertips down to the mat beside the right hip, and left arm reaches up and over. Back over to the left. Moving at your own pace, in your own time. One more either side. That's it. This time, reach both hands up through center. Both hands reach to the ceiling. Twist yourself to the left. Right hand to the outside of that left thigh. Left fingertips either to the floor behind you, or if they don't quite reach, you can place the left hand on the small of your back, on the low back. Every inhale, sit up a little bit taller, find more length in the spine. And every exhale, explore the twist, maybe open around to the left a little bit more. 2 more rounds of breath. Inhale, lengthening the spine. Exhale, twisting. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to twist. Coming back through center. Hands to the sky. Take your right fingertips down beside the right hip. Reach the left fingertips up and over. We'll take those waves side to side, over to the left. Back over to the right. That's it. Left hand down beside left hip. One more each side. Right fingertips beside that right hip. The left hand over to the left. Arms reach up towards the ceiling. Twisting to the right, left hand to the outside of your right thigh. This time, right fingertips to the floor behind you, or resting on the low back. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale to twist. Inhale to sit tall. Exhale to twist. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to twist. Coming back through center, chest to the front of the room, hands reach up towards the sky. Bring the palms to meet, and then exhale, bring the hands together in front of your heart. From here, slowly make your way into a tabletop position, placing your block or your blocks towards the front of the mat if you are using them. Spread your fingers wide. Stack your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. 5 rounds of cat and cow, moving with your breath. Inhale for cow pose, tilt the sit bones, lift the gaze. Exhale, press the floor away from you, round the back, chin to chest, cat. 4 more with your breath. Inhaling, slow and steady. Exhaling, slow and steady. 3 more rounds. Inhale, letting the belly lower towards the mat, tilt the sit bones to the sky, lift the gaze. Exhale, rounding the spine and pressing the floor away from you. Final round here. Inhale, breath. And exhale. Coming back to meet in that neutral tabletop position. From here, step your feet to the back of the mat. Lift the hips, find your downward facing dog. You might like to bend into one knee at a time here. Not in our downward facing dog for very long. Starting to invite some length into the backs of the legs. Take one more breath in. Stay for the breath out. Look between the hands and slowly walk or tiptoe even your feet all the way to the top of your mat. Land the feet about hip width apart. Generous bend in the knees here as you're folding in towards the legs. Let your head hang heavy. Keep your hands reaching down towards your mat. Start to press into the feet. Bring the chin to tuck in towards the chest. Fingers start to lift away from the mat. Arms start to dangle out in front of you. We're rolling the spine one vertebra at a time all the way up to standing. That's it, nice and slow. At the top, roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Finding your mountain pose, standing at the top of the mat, hands down beside the hips. Take a slow, steady breath in. Slow, steady breath out. We'll grab our blocks here. Place your blocks at the front of your mat on their highest setting to begin with. I'm setting mine roughly shoulder width apart, that far apart at the top of my mat. Come back to your mountain pose, standing tall behind the blocks. From our mountain pose, we'll slowly and mindfully make our way into our dangle, making our way down the same way we came up. Chin comes into chest. Let the shoulders round forward. Take the arms out in front of you. Soft bend into the knees as you start to curl the spine down until your hands find the blocks. You can take the blocks to a lower setting if that suits you better. If you find your dangle with ease, you might even try bringing your forearms to your blocks. Finding your dangle pose and then allowing yourself to settle in here for about 10 or so rounds of breath. Letting the torso fold in towards your legs. Letting your head hang heavy, not holding the head in any way. Maybe close the eyes. Breathing into the back line of the body. Again, choosing to bring your focus to the breath. Whenever you notice your mind wandering, maybe to something that's happened already in the past, or anticipating something that's coming up in the future, can you stay present in your practice through your connection to your breath? Let's be here for another 5 or so rounds of breath.
Let's enjoy one more round of breath together, in through the nose and back out through the nose. Lifting slightly away from your blocks, placing them off to the side. Bringing your hands down to the mat and step back to come into your tabletop position, bringing the knees to the mat. We'll find a child's pose here. Take the knees out as wide as the mat. Bring the big toes to touch. You can either reach the hands towards the front of the mat here in your child's pose, or you might like to reach the arms through the legs and bring one cheek to the mat. Choosing whichever child's pose variation feels right in your body today. And then let's settle in for 5 or 6 rounds of breath. Once you finish those 5 or 6 rounds of breath, looking between the hands if they're reaching out in front of you. If the arms are between the legs, bring them back to the mat, out in front of you. We'll make our way to sit on our mat, bringing the sit bones down, turning to face one side, maybe the side so that you can see the screen. We'll reach our right leg out to the right and we'll bring the left foot in towards the pelvis. Left foot in towards the pelvis, right leg reaching out to the right. Grab one of your blocks. I like to start with the block on the highest setting and just know that you can adjust the height of the block if you need to. You can also move the block closer in towards the body or further away and closer towards the foot. So just know that wherever you place the block doesn't have to be where it stays. We're going to bring our right elbow down onto the block and let your head rest in that right hand. So have a little play where you might like the block in that height setting that you might like it at. And then once you found your spot, your left hand will come to your left hip. You can stay here, or you might like to reach that left arm up and over. I'm being mindful not to impact the mic too much. And if you don't want to reach the left arm up and over, but you don't want it on your hip, you might place that left forearm on the side of your temple so that the forearm quite literally rests on the side of the head. Working to invite a lengthening and stretching down that left side of the body. Wherever you need to be to find that stretch. Making any adjustments in the pose. And then let's settle into stillness and connect to our breath. And if you had reached the arm over towards the toes, just know that you can ease out of that variation if and when you need to.
When you're ready, bringing the left hand back to find the left hip. Slowly lifting away from the block, stacking the shoulders over the hips. Pausing here for a moment, just notice the two sides of the body. And then we'll take that to the second side. Right foot comes in towards the pelvis. Take your left leg out to the left and place your block. You should have a gauge now on which height setting you'd like it in. It's always nice to start with the highest and then work your way down if you have that space. But still so much benefit with that block at that highest setting. Bring your head to rest in your hand and take your right hand to your right hip. You can stay here. You might reach the right arm up and over, or you might let that right forearm rest on the side of the head. Settling into the pose, finding stillness, settling into your breath. Again, if you've started with the right fingertips reaching up and over and you need to ease out, maybe the forearm comes to the side of the head, or maybe the hand comes back to the right hip. Let's enjoy another 5 rounds of breath here. Once you finish those 5 rounds of breath, the right hand comes back to the right hip. Slowly lift away from the block. Stack the shoulders over the hips. Side waist should feel spacious and stretched. Take your blocks. We'll turn to face the front of the mat and just have the blocks beside the hips. Just off to the sides of the mat, but beside the hips, so within reach when we come down onto our backs. Mindfully making your way to your mat. We'll set ourselves up for a supported bridge, maybe even a pontoon if you're feeling like you'd like a bit of stretch across the front of the hip flexors. Grab a hold of one of your blocks, press into the feet and lift the hips up towards the sky, and slide your block on the lowest setting underneath your sacrum, bringing the hips to rest down on your block. Hands down beside the hips. Staying here, or maybe you extend one leg out long in front of you. If that feels okay, you might extend the other leg out long in front of you. Again, if having both legs extended ever becomes a little bit too much, you can always bend one or both knees. Let's be here in either our supported bridge or our pontoon. 7 to 8 rounds of breath. Enjoying one more round of breath as you are. If you have the legs extended out long, slowly rebending one knee at a time, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. Press into the feet enough that you can slide that block out from underneath you and bring the hips back down to find the mat. Take the feet wider than hip width, let the knees sway side to side. And we'll come into our reclined butterfly or Supta Baddha Konasana. Heel toe the feet together so the big toes touch. You may like your blocks here. See how you go. Starting to come onto the outer edges of the feet, soles of the feet come together as the knees go wide. You can use your blocks to support the outer edges of your legs here so that your knees don't open or your knees don't fall too close towards the floor. You can keep them propped away from your floor. And it just takes a little bit of the stretch out. Hands can rest on the floor beside the hips, or maybe bring the hands to rest on the belly. And allowing yourself to find stillness here. And enjoying the support of the floor and maybe your props. Once you've found the shape, we'll settle in for 7 to 8 rounds of breath. This is our final pose of our practice today. If you have the time and you'd like to stay longer, please feel free to stay as you are. Otherwise, we'll slowly start to make our way out of the pose, removing the blocks if they're there, bringing the soles of the feet onto the mat, knees are bent, and mindfully roll onto your right hand side. From your side, slowly make your way up to find a comfortable seated position, ending our practice the same way we began, in a comfortable seat with an easy cross of the legs. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take a moment to show gratitude towards yourself for making this time in your day for you. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.